But if it's voted down by the community, it can be brought back in a year, you're saying? Because
yes, per the government code.
That contract, though, the existing contract right now that was written up before, will that go away?
It does not. The closing date is further out.
I specifically asked that question at a council meeting. I said, if this vote no, does this end this sale? Or words to that effect. I'm paraphrasing. And I was told yes.
Excuse me, Lois.
Now, I want to be clear about that, because that was the issue here. Was we take it to a vote, and if the residents say no, should be it. But I do understand in the real world, the hospital would have to go out and create a measure on their own. But the sale agreement would not be in perpetuity.
No, the closing date was revised with the amendment, and I don't have the amendment in front of me, to allow for additional time for this vote to be held, and then for there to be time for the zoning change to be enacted.
Okay,
if it's going to be
understood.
enacted.
But if it's a vote no, there wouldn't be the next step of a zoning change or anything like that. Correct?
Theoretically, no. I mean, I only say that because it's not a successful vote is not an express condition of closing.
Well, then who would?
But it does effectively raise a substantial barrier.
Who would make the decision at that point?
The hospital, because I do know the purchase and sale agreement.
Hold on, counsel. I want to make sure. I want to hear from my counsel, and then I'll welcome you to speak. If this council, we as a council, and my belief, the reason why I voted the way I did was because I believed that the residents should have the right to vote. Okay? That's the only thing that I was in favor of. I don't have a personal opinion, yes or no, about the sale of the park. I believe it's up to the residents. Okay? First of all, if the residents vote no, in other words, if the majority is a no, why then would the city still be bound by the agreement?
Because a successful vote was never stated as being a precondition to closing.
Isn't that a failure in the contract to have no conditions that allowed the city of Upland to say conditions precedent? There's no conditions precedent that gave us a way out. That's how I saw that. Is there was a failure in our contract?
I can't speak to the direction that was given to my predecessor. I was never given that direction.
Okay,
I'm not saying that, but the contract itself gave the city of Upland no out on it. The hospital had a list of like 9 conditions precedent that could allow them to back out of the sale. Upland had zippo.
Well, I think under normal real estate contracts, the buyer has to fail to perform in order for the seller to have a call for a breach of contract. Right. Correct? That's how a standard real estate contract works.
I didn't quite hear that.
Okay, in a standard real estate agreement, from the best of my recollection and what I understand is, once there's an agreement, the buyer has to default in order for the seller to make an agreement to then move forward and cancel. It seems to me that we have an open-ended contract, and I don't know if that's legal to have an open-ended agreement, which to me it's almost like a lease option at some time. I'm not comfortable if that's what we have here. If that's really what we have here, I'm concerned. Because that means no matter what the vote comes out with, we could be either back in court for a yes or a no.
All right, hold on just a moment. If you want to come forward, she says she's got some explanations that might help.
Hi, good evening. Again, for the record, Elliot Thompson, Irvin Cohen, and Jessup. So, no, this is not correct. This is not an open-ended contract. First of all, it has an expiration date of November something 2021, period. Second of all, we have the Subdivision Map Act that also rules in place. So we can't buy this property no matter what until the city changes the zoning and planning and does a lot line adjustment, because you can't just sell property just because. This 4.3 acres is not a separate lot. And it's owned by the city and it's governed under the Parkland Act. So you don't have the ability to sell this property today because it does not have the right zoning. It is not it does not have the right general plan designation. And it's part of an overall general large park parcel. So under the Subdivision Map Act, you can't just randomly take off a portion of your land and sell it to willy-nilly however you want. So we have to go through those entitlements. And if we don't get through those entitlements, then the contract ends November
that's
2021.
That's the closing condition.
Yeah. So
But there's nothing to say that it can be delayed because of the city's action, which would then be require them to extend it if the city doesn't perform.
No.
Yes.
No, I'm telling you, no. There
I disagree with you right now, but
okay.
I think if the city fails to perform, that the hospital will have an action against the city.
Okay. Well, first of all, we got we have the vote before us. Okay. So if the members of the public vote no, you can't perform because you don't have the ability to go through an entitlement process or to allow us to go through an entitlement process, because the land cannot be sold under the Parkland Act.
All of that I understand. All I'm concerned about is that if it goes to vote and the vote is a no, we better be done.
Well,
The vote is a yes. If the vote is a yes, then we move forward.
Yes.
That's I want to make that very clear, because that's the most important thing. And if you're saying that's not the way it is, well, wait a minute here.
Well,
I'm telling you it is the way it is, because I'm sitting here with a board member of the hospital, and he has told me that the hospital will absolutely be done with this if the voters vote no. They do not have the money to continue this if the voters vote no.
They're willing to put that in writing. I mean, I think I want to satisfy, I don't have a really a dog in this fight. I believe it's the residents' decision. If it comes out yes, then guess what? The residents of Upland want it. If it's a no, then I want to know. So I want to make sure that the hospital says that. Now I'm going to make sure that what we're telling our residents is, and my understanding was that when this was done, it was done. If it's a yes, it's done. If it's a no, it's done.
That's our understanding as well. I'm sitting. Yeah, and the hospital. He just said the hospital can't possibly pay $4.3 million for a baseball field, to which they could absolutely do nothing and have no ownership rights over everything.
No, I understand it.
But yes, I understand what you're saying. You're saying you want in writing that this
I want an amendment in the future then that says if it's a no vote, the hospital's willing to at that point. I think it's the safest way to do it to the community. I think it's the safest way to do it legally for everybody.
You want an out on the existing contract. So like you said, 10 years from now, the hospital wants to do something else in a swap, but this agreement.
Because this agreement was not made by the majority of this, I believe, by the majority of us sitting here. Although one of them was against it, and two of us weren't here. Correct, Rudy? Rudy and I weren't here, and Janice wasn't in favor.
Okay, hold on a moment.
No.
Right. So Janice was opposed.
Stephen Flowers has a comment.
I just want to respond briefly, Councilmember Velto, just to point out, there's two ways to answer the question of what a no vote means. What does it mean politically and practically, which is where we've kind of ended up, and what it means in a technical legal sense. And in a technical legal sense, a no vote does not kill the contract, because that is not what's on the ballot. And that's not what is written in the analysis. It's not what's written in the ballot measure. The practical effect of a no vote, given that the council still holds the final say on the zone change, and there would have to be a lot line adjustment, means that the deal would effectively be dead. So when I say that a no vote doesn't necessarily kill the contract, that's a technical legal answer.
That I understand.
Okay.
That I understand.
I just want, I don't want people thinking that I don't understand that. I mean, I'm trying to stay within the bounds of my responsibility as legal counsel and answer this as a technical legal question.
I fully get this, counsel. What I'm concerned about is, again, this has to be very clear to the public so that those in opposition don't feel that, okay, we vote, we do our, we go out, we oppose this, we build our, our quorum of people that are opposing this, or their, their movement, and then there's a yes movement. So I want to make sure that it's fair to both parties. And so if the hospital is willing to do an amendment to the agreement, which would make
basically
sense.
Nullifies the agreement if the vote of the measure is no.
Yeah, if they would be willing to do that.
We are willing to do that. Yes. Because they absolutely do not want to be bound to this contract any more than you want to be bound to this contract, because they don't want to buy a baseball field that they can't do anything with. So,
fair enough. I just want to make sure that so the public understands that, I'm trying to be as neutral as I can on this. Mm-hmm. Okay, I really am, because I know I'm not a guy who wants to see a park sold, but I understand that it's got to be up to the residents and not just me. Okay, in my opinion.
Yes, we will work it out with the city attorney and to do an amendment to the purchase and sale agreement that will be very simple. It will be a couple sentences that basically, kills the purchase and sale agreement should the vote be no.
Okay, fair enough.
And
Thank
that's
you.